we're dealing with 5-3, which is solving using elimination. So we've covered graphing, we've covered substitution, and now we're dealing with elimination. Okay. And on page 144 of your workbook, you'll notice there it says the steps involved solving a system. I would add a step in there that makes it might be something that helps out a bit. I always like to have my systems in standard form, or at least have X and Y on the same side. I guess they don't necessarily have to be in standard form, but I like if you added a step 0. Kind of get X and Y on the same side. Of the equation. So I just think that that's a good practice. It seems to help students out when we do that, so I've added it in there. Okay? And then we've got our step 1 through 4 there. Multiply if necessary one or both equations by a constant, so at least one pair of like terms has the same or opposite coefficients. I like to have opposite coefficients, so that's the way I'll teach you, but you'll also see using elimination you'll have some teachers that have you do the same and have you do subtraction. I always like adding. It makes it a little easier. So add or subtract. So if we have opposite coefficients, then we can add the equations up. We generally do better when we're adding. So solve the resulting equation and then substitute the value from step 3 into the original equation and solve. Okay. So we're going to try some of these together today. Kind of work through it, and we'll practice them even more so tomorrow. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and check some out. So, page 145. Oh, real quick. Define in our own words coefficient. Tell your neighbor what a coefficient is. Key term here. All right, what's a coefficient? Anyone want to take a guess? Bobby, don't lean back. I don't want you to end up falling. No one wants to take a guess? Coefficient's the number that's attached to the variable. So if you had the 3x plus 2y equals 7, the 3 and the 2 would be the coefficients. Or in 4x, 4 would be a coefficient, the thing attached to the variable. Now, how many of you said that? 2. All right, 1 or 2. How many have heard that before? Or coefficient. All right. Very good. So we're gonna try to come up with common coefficients. So let's turn the page. Look at page 145. All right. On page 145, solve the system of linear equations by elimination, check your solutions. So with elimination, and I'm going to be taking notes, so you may end up adding some of this stuff back on your note page here, but I'm going to go through and kind of explain how this works. Let's pretend for a minute, let's say that we have, give me 2 numbers. Yeah, 6 and 1 is... Oops. How about 6 and 7? 13. Thank you. Okay. Give me 2 more. Different, yeah. Okay, different.
8 and 10.
8 and 10. You guys are going with big numbers. 8 and 10 is? 18. So I'm going to need some help with these here. Okay. 6 and 8 is? Did everyone agree that 6 and 7 is 13?
Yeah.
And 8 and 10 is 18.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what's 6 plus 8?
14.
14. And 7 and 10?
17.
17. What's 14 and 17? 31. What's 13 and 18? 31. Dude. So you can add equations together as long as they're true equations and come up with an equation that's true. And that's kind of the foundation of what we're doing here. Okay, and you could test, we could use some smaller numbers. 1 plus 2 is 3. 4 plus 5 is 9. And we get 5 and 7 and 12. Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so all those are true. So that's kind of the foundation you're doing here. So to eliminate, we're eliminating a variable. That's what elimination means there. Okay, solve the system by elimination, check your solution. So if we take a look at number 1, well, if I look at that and go, well, if I add these up, will a variable disappear? Try it. Okay. Once you guys add this up, add your x's, add your y's, and add your constants there. Come up with an equation. Share with your neighbor what you got. All right. Chelsea, what'd you get? So I get the 5y, I get the 25. Double check that. So this is a 1x, right? And this is a negative 1. And 1 and negative 1 is? 0, right? Disappears. So this part disappeared. You get 5y equals 25. Okay, we'll come back to that here in a minute. How many of you got 5y equals 25? Okay, I want you to go on to number 2. Number 2, add it up. I've seen some of you do this with your workbooks so that you keep your work straight. Except for you usually use cool squiggly lines. Okay, share with your neighbor what you got. All right, Audrey, what'd you get? Okay, so there's no y. That part eliminated. Everyone agree? Okay, any questions so far? Okay. Let's go ahead and take a look at number 3. We'll come back to number 1 and 2. Number 3, add them up. Actually, before you add up number 2, tell your neighbor if anything's going to eliminate. And why. Then add them up. Okay, share with your groupies what you got.
What'd you get? Make sure you didn't copy me because I'm so smart.
All right, Toki, what'd you get?
2y equals 8.
2y equals 8. Everyone agree?
Mm-hmm.
What eliminated?
The 2x.
The 2x's, okay. Why did those things eliminate? Tell your neighbor why they eliminated. The things that we've circled in 1 through 3, why did those eliminate?
Because one was positive, one was negative. And if you was add or subtract, yeah. Yeah, close enough.
That one teach someone that doesn't know how to do this anything.
Okay, can someone summarize to me why they eliminated?
They cancel each
Ellie?
other out.
Because they're inverse coefficients.
Okay, they're inverse coefficients. So that meaning, like I have opposite coefficients, or I have the 1 and the negative 1. Right? Here it's 2 and negative 2. Okay? What do we have here?
Negative 1, positive 1.
Negative 1, positive 1. On your paper, just kind of up here somewhere, I want you to write two terms that will eliminate that we haven't used. Two terms. Like here we use positive 2x, negative 2x. Here we use positive 1y, negative 1y. Here we use positive 1x, negative 1x. I want you to come up with 2 things that you can add together, the variables, that will eliminate. That will make a 0 when you add them. Okay, Jaden, what'd you get? Kenshin?
Negative 5 and 5.
-5 and positive 5. Okay, and let's add some x's there. All right? Anyone else? As long as these numbers are opposites, right? Like 7 and negative 7. I know I'm harping on that, but I want you to turn your page real quick. We're not doing much of this page right now, but I want you to go ahead and look at number 10 and add it up. in pencil. Make sure you're using a pencil. Does anything eliminate? No, nothing eliminated. Why?
Because there are no negatives.
Yeah,
There's all positive.
Yeah, there's no positives, there's no negatives, there's no opposites. If I wanted to eliminate this x, if I wanted to eliminate x, what would I need right here?
Negative.
Yeah, I need a negative what?
1. Oh, negative 2.
Yeah, negative 2. If I wanted to eliminate y, what would I need down here? Negative 2, right? So what we're going to be doing tomorrow when we dive into this is we're going to be working at making it so we can eliminate these. A lot of the stuff we're doing today, actually the majority of the stuff we're doing today, we already have opposites. So we're going to build on this as we go. Let's go ahead and take a look at number 1. Let's finish number 1 up. All right? Everyone solve for y? All right, Cole, what's y equal? 5. Yeah, divide both sides by 5. We get y equals 5. And now how do we find x? Annalie?
We plug y back into one of the equations.
Good, so we just pick one. Doesn't matter which one. So for instance, if I took this equation right here, maybe the top one, and just said, well, I know what y is now. So I'm going to go ahead and say x plus 3y equals 17. 1y is 5, so that's x plus 3 times 5, 17. So x plus 15 equals 17, and so x is 2. Okay? So I get 2, 5. Remember what that means in a picture form. Everyone tell your neighbor what that means in a picture form. I'm bringing you all the way back to last week. Very first lesson. Picture form. Here's a hint. I could also write my answer as 2, 5. What does this mean in a picture? Anyone know? Caden?
It's a point.
Yeah, it's a point. It's where those two lines cross. Those two lines cross. If we graphed them, they would cross at the ordered pair 2, 5. Okay? Everyone remember that? Remember, they all mean the same thing. The 3 ways to solve: substitution, graphing, and elimination. Graphing was actually the first one we did here. Now, we should have been able to plug this point back into either of them. It would have worked out. So if I test this same one, 2, 5 in the bottom, that's negative 2 plus 2 times 5 is 10. Negative 2 plus 10 is 8. Works out. Works out in each of them. So we're good. Okay. Any questions there? Are we able to, everyone take a look at 9. Remember, I said we want to have x's and y's on the same side. It kind of helps out. We're going to have to do that on some of these, right? Try to move our x's and y's over. So if I'm doing this, go ahead and work with your neighbor. The first step you have to do to solve number 9. All right, on number 9, it looks like we're about half and half. Half of you know what to do first. Half of you are kind of stuck on it. Anyone want to share? Caden?
You want to get the x and y on both sides. The same side.
Good, yeah, it's good to get the x and y on the same side. Now, I saw a few of you try to add these up right now. Notice your x's and y's aren't even, they're not lined up. Like, you can't add these two. That's a y and that's an x. That's a y and an x, right? So you would have to, it's helpful to get the x's and y's on the same side. So if I want to move this 4y over to that side, I have to subtract it, right? So I have negative 4x minus 4y equals negative 2. And if I want to move this 4x over to that side, what do? Yeah, I add it, okay? So now I have 4x minus 4y equals 1. That's helpful, right? Because now when you look at them and you line them up, here are my opposites. That's going to become a 0 right here. That part's going to disappear. Negative 4y and negative 4y actually gives me negative 8y. And there I've got my -3, or -1, excuse me. So I'm going to get a tough answer on that one. Number 8 gives you a kind of a tougher answer there. You got to deal with some fractions at the end. Or number 9, excuse me. This one's a bit tougher. So y equals 1/8. And you got to put that 1/8 back in and solve for x. Okay. All right, you have the rest of the class to work here. With the exception in about 10 minutes time, I'm gonna, or 5, yeah, probably, actually I'll let you score it on your own, okay? So you guys had your stuff from Friday, or not Friday, but Tuesday and Wednesday that we were working on, our systems paper. So our answers are up here. Some of you turned it in already, some of you haven't, but if you haven't scored it, go ahead and get that scored up and ask questions.